Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
March the 10th, 2026. Yellow again, everybody. Welcome to Talking Memphis Wrestling. I can tell you it's 62 degrees right now where my story began in Jonesboro, Arkansas. What's the weather there? What's the weather there? All you great people like Thomas and Dennis and Calvin and Greg, everybody in the house, what is going on with the weather there? I can tell you the weather here is fine. The weather tomorrow is supposed to be stormy time in Arkansas. Hey, this is a great show today. I am going to start just with something, a little news report that kind of upset me a little bit. It's not wrestling news. It is news, and it is Arkansas news. And of course, this is a farming community, a farming state. There was more farmers go bankrupt in this past year than there's ever been in history. So folks, we need to eat. We need our farmers. Of course, it's so important, not only in my community, but everybody's community. So prayers for farmers, support the farmers. We got to support them again in Arkansas. Set a record of more bankruptcies. More people went bankrupt that were farmers in Arkansas than ever. Hey, Todd Alexander. Hey, my man, Randy West, Frank Seaton is in the house. We'll bring on in just a minute Chris Ellis for his first take. But first of all, I want to preview this show. We have photos of the week, and I'm with a plum-pleasing pleasure will tell you. We will take a look, and we have a couple of slides to show. We will take a look at the final for the road to the gold. Today on this program, the September 1974 Jerry the King Lawler's first ever challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship, as he will, back in the day, his first chance against Jack Brisco. We'll show highlights of him and Terry Funk, highlights of him and Harley Race, and also we have some Nick Bockwinkel action, a loaded show, because it is my duty to educate you and to put over what the great Memphis Wrestling Company meant to all of us that grew up. Hello to Bo James. He says it is warm and rainy in East Tennessee. Hey, speaking of Arkansas, and we will go to the South Side Arkansas area, where the assistant superintendent, former athletic director, former coach, he is a member of this panel on Talking Memphis Wrestling. He is here for the second week in a row as we wait for our buddy Michael St. John to join this show with his first take. We'll make welcome my friend, Coach Chris Ellis, and his first take. Chris?
Thank you, RH. First, I want to say hi to Randy West, Al, Todd, Bo James, Frank, everybody. Great to be on for 2 weeks in a row, which is abnormal for me. My first take also has to do with Arkansas news. Unfortunately, we've gone viral on social media, and as many of our viewers know, that I've been a coach, an administrator in the state of Arkansas for a long time. In a state tournament, this past week we had a bench clearing brawl that was a very, very ugly scene that reflects poorly on obviously the two schools involved and on our whole state and sportsmanship across the board. And fans have just gotten crazy. Sports are important. I'm highly competitive. Everybody wants to win, but there's a certain amount of I don't know what you say, certain amount of decorum or respect you need to show along the way. RH and I were talking before the show. I'm sure he's been to wrestling shows where there were almost riots because of the heat some of the wrestlers had. Well, this is high school athletics. There ought to be a little bit more regard for young people and the way we conduct ourselves in our society. But unfortunately, I'm afraid it's going the wrong way and may not be able to be turned around. But I just want to get that off my chest. I know we've gotten a lot of negative publicity around the country and around the world on social media because of it. It's on every TV channel. It's ugly, ugly scene, and I don't know what we're going to do moving forward.
Did you realize, as I opened the show talking about the Arkansas news that I read unrelated to the fight, our farmers are in trouble. No time in history has there been more farms bankruptcy. You're from Jonesboro, Arkansas. You've been all over Arkansas, how much the farms mean. Is the local farms going away? Because our farmers are in trouble, Chris.
Well, my mom's family farmed east of Jonesboro in the Monette area. I can tell you 2 lifelong family friends have gone out this year. They farmed all their life. One of them was a 3rd-generation farmer from that area, from the Monette area, has gone out this year. My uncle went out back the last time it was so bad 30 years ago. It kind of goes in cycles, but the foreign trade and the indiscrepancies with all that and the cost, like a cotton picker over in that part of the world, one of my former students has 6-row cotton pickers. Well, they're only $1 million a piece. So think about how much cotton you got to pick $6 million worth of cotton. So that's just where we're at. Chemicals are outrageous. Fertilized fuel. I mean, we can go on and on. It's sad. It's tough. I mean, Arkansas is the #1 rice producing state in the country and one of the largest in the world. So it's a bad time for Arkansas farmers and other states as well.
Al Tuttle is in the house and so many people in the house. Chris, our wrestling fandom, and my fandom certainly started way before my career in the wrestling business had happened. Love Memphis wrestling, love the wrestling business, and I'm excited because what put Memphis, Tennessee on the map was 1974. The emergence of Jerry Lawler as a single star. He had a feud that started in June and July with Rick Gibson and Jackie Fargo, and he wrestled Robert Fuller. And then he went on one of Jerry Jarrett's most brilliant deals, building for Lawler's first world championship match. And that was a road to the gold, and I just wanted to talk about some of the people that he met and he sold out with the Mid-South Coliseum, and it's just so interesting. The Sheik, the original Sheik, Bobo Brazil, Mr. Wrestling #2, Dick the Bruiser, Jerry Brisco, and leading to the Jack Brisco Championship. And I want to back this up. And Adam, if you could find 5376 and 5375, and we will refer to those later on in the show when we run over the card and have more information there. So 5375 right there. This is the event, September 16th, 1974. At the time, it broke all box office records. And believe it or not, with all the news out of WrestleMania tickets and that sort of thing, this event, the highest ticket prices, setting the largest money gate at that point in Memphis wrestling history, ringside tickets $7, bleachers $5.50, loads $4.50, and general admission $3. And it was headlined by Jerry Lawler and Jack Brisco. Jerry Lawler and Jack Brisco for the NWA World Championship. Chris, your memories of this classic time, and even though the year 1983 broke the record as far as money for the year, Memphis wrestling as a whole, week to week to week to week to week, 1974 was the most attended year in Memphis wrestling history, without a doubt. Your thoughts on this?
Ironically enough, and I may have told it on this show before, but that was my first ever trip to the Coliseum. Was the Jack Brisco match.
September 16th.
Yes, my birthday is September 8th. That was my birthday present from my papa, was to take me to this event. And of course, you know, they've been building up on TV every week, and he was an avid wrestling fan, as I obviously was. And he took me to see the world. This is my first world championship match, first time to the Coliseum. And it's crazy. I was looking at the ticket prices. Stands out in my mind that it would cost $20 for us to have 2 tickets, hot dog, popcorn, and Coke. And the Cokes came in those little plastic cups back then. And $5 in gas to get there and back from Jonesboro. $20 we went to see Jack Brisco and Jerry Lawler in 1974. And and it's hard to believe. I knew how young I was then. The King was only 25. So his first world championship match was at the age of 25, which in my mind would be considerably young in that era, I would think.
No doubt about it. And I'm jealous, Chris, because I was not there that night. I was not there. I probably didn't go to the Mid-South Coliseum the first time to, I think it was 1976, maybe even 1977. I think the first world title match I saw was Harley Race, and we will see some stuff with Harley Race. I want to say hello to Johnny and to Alexander and other people watching this at all. And Alto is saying this, and Al, I don't know if we'll get to that or not. I thought the Heart of the Promoter, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Just really, really good. Michael has different comments on that, without a doubt, at all. Big show today, and we're stretching a little bit, Chris, because I wanted to wait for Michael to be in the house before we get into that video of Jack Brisco. And I think that Michael has joined us right now, as today we're telling the story of Jerry Lawler World Championship match. We'll see the Jack Brisco. We will see also the Terry Funk highlights, the Harley Race highlights. If we have time, the Nick Bockwinkel highlight. We'll do a quick review as we talk sports to start this show. Talked about news all over the country that happened in Arkansas. A Pier 6 brawl in high school basketball between, help me, Chris, it was England and Hughes, right? Barton. Near West Helena, right?
Near Helena. The other about 7 miles west of Helena.
It was a Pier 6 brawl. We also told everybody prayers for the farmers. We broke a bad record this past year. More bankruptcies for farmers. Farmers in trouble big time. Lot going on for sure. We have great footage, but a highlight, as we've already had Chris's unusual first take as he talked about that wild and woolly basketball brawl. No telling what is on the great Michael St. John. So we as we're being produced by the great Adam Dunn. We will travel near Huntsville, Alabama, Space World, USA. He's an Arab, Alabama. He's the founder, the owner, the president, the star of Fun Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, with his first take is Michael freaking St. John. Hey, Michael, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Thank you. Good to be back with you. I had to miss a week last week. Something came up at a very late minute. And, Chris, that was a hell of a brawl in Helena.
Yes, sir. It certainly was. It was a mess. It's a sad deal.
It is. And I saw that, I saw that you sent, in fact, I think you posted it on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. And I saw that, and it was pretty shocking. Not that it's my first take, but does it seem like high school sports are getting out of hand a little bit these days with parental involvement? And, we've had some ugly incidents here, both in football and in basketball. And then this is nothing new. I'm going to shake back 19 years ago. The United States Senator from the state of Alabama is the Honorable Katie Britt, whose husband is from Coleman, Alabama. And Senator Britt is doing a fine job, and we appreciate her efforts. But she married a guy that is the reason that Arab High School does not play Coleman High School, 19 miles away, in any sports anymore. And the reason is, in a basketball game some 19 or 20 years ago, he was a football player, a big tackle, good player, the whole 9 yards. He was he's playing basketball in high school. He's under the goal, going up for a rebound. Kid from Arab goes out to snatch the ball, and he gave him an elbow and caved his face in. I mean, just messed the kid up for bad. And as a result, the two schools said, this is getting way out of hand. We're not going to do this anymore. And that's a sad state of affairs. I don't know the answer, Coach, but perhaps as an athletic director, what is the answer?
Well, I mean, I said it in my first take a while ago. It's unfortunately it's a reflection on our society. People don't treat each other with respect. We don't parent like we used to. We don't raise our kids to be disciplined and respect others. And I mean, I was raised in a household where you didn't put your hands on other people, or there's going to be severe consequences. So people didn't feel like they could go around just punching people because there's going to be severe consequences. I don't have an answer. It's going to get like up north, like in the places, large cities like Chicago. There are places where they play basketball games with only the teams and the coaches. And if there's college coaches that want to scout, they come, and the referees. No fans, none, because it's just not safe because of brawls and whatever else may go on.
I was first introduced to that about 3 years ago in Cincinnati, Ohio, where two inner city schools played. They play in the afternoon right after school ends, and nobody's allowed there. There is security there, the teams, the coaches, and as you say, invited guests. Boy, it's a sad state of affairs. Did I read, or was this something that is old news that just popped up on Twitter that Sputnik Monroe passed away? Did you see that, Randy, or is that old news?
That's way old news.
That showed up on my Twitter feed yesterday.
Yes. I know he was still alive in 2001 because, Adam, if you could research that for me, in 2001, because he appeared on Power Pro Wrestling. However, yeah, that's old news for sure. And
just a quick first take, and Coach, I don't know if you've seen any of this, but I'm excited. This World Baseball competition that's going on right now, I've watched it. I think this is like the third time they've done it. And the first two times were like, man, nobody really cares. But I think it's better this year than the Olympics. No doubt about it. It is outstanding. I've been watching it. I'm hooked. It's like watching an all-star game 4 times a day with all the teams that have all these great players. And if you haven't taken a look and you're a baseball fan, I suggest it. Randy, I'm sorry. That's my take.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Sputnik Monroe was born December the 18th, 1928. Thanks to Adam for researching. He passed away. I don't know why in the world it took so long to pop up on your feed, but he passed away November the 3rd, 2006.
Wow. Well, it just showed up yesterday out of nowhere. So anyway, but he was a great one. And another figure in Memphis. And we're talking about probably the biggest outside of Elvis. Do we dare say this? Outside of Elvis, the biggest star in the history of Memphis, Tennessee has got to be Jerry the King Lawler.
No question. When Coach Bryant passed down in Alabama, I remember the reverence for all that, and obviously Elvis's funeral. I hope it's a long time away, but when the King leaves us, I think there'll be something similar. It'll be a big deal to not only the city of Memphis, but the surrounding area. As I've heard him quote many times, 300,000 people at 11 o'clock every Saturday. That's unheard of.
Well, with that in mind, Randy, it's all yours, buddy.
Hey, I just wanted to do this, and I was not going to do it. Normally, I like healthy discussion. I really do, and we're not always going to agree. And there's one subject that you have different viewpoints than I do, and I wasn't going to address this at all on the show. However, when my audience, especially a regular like Al Tuttle, requests I address this today, I've got to, because he wanted to know what we thought about heart of a promoter, the Jeff Jarrett deal. I'll go first, and I know Michael has an opposite opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that. I thought it made me cry. It made me happy. I thought, even though Conrad Thompson certainly pitched the idea, Jeff Jarrett's not going to put his name to something that he ain't in control of. I thought it was done with class. I thought it was done with emotion. I thought it was a plus. And Al, I would like to hear your comments in the comment section, what you thought. And before we get to Michael's, Chris, did you have a chance? Because I think I sent that out. What did you think of it?
Well, obviously, of the three of us, I'm the only one that doesn't know Jeff.
Right.
And I don't know the personal ins and outs and all that, but I can tell you from the fact that he and I are the same age and the same phase of life, I think we get older, the nostalgia sets in and we become more emotional. We lose in his case, his father. I've lost my mother. I think there's things in our life, our hometown events that have occurred in our life that we make them more meaningful, and we appreciate things more now that we're 58 or 9 years old than we did when we were 28 or 9. That's what I gleaned from it. He was emotional. He acted like he cared. He seemed to be invested in other people besides himself. Again, I don't know the man. Of the three of us, I'm the only one that doesn't. But that's just a general wrestling fan and a fan of Double J, Jeff Jarrett, somewhat. Not a huge fan, but a fan. And knowing that, he's been in it 40 years, I think that plays a role in it.
Very good thoughts right there, and looking for Al's comment right now. Another thing, I know how Jeff is when he puts his heart and the reason I wasn't going to originally address this, because I knew we would probably have more than one take. People on several different things, when we broach subject, maybe I've knocked somebody. People just to stir will text, oh, did you hear what Randy else said about you, Jeff? Did you hear what Michael St. John? Did you hear what Chris Ellis said? And I didn't want to start bad feelings on that as well. But again, we had a viewer ask what we thought, and this show is honest, and there's room for varying opinions on this show. Michael, again, I love the show. Made me cry. Your thoughts?
Well, I was, and I'd been following the hype since the first of the year. And I have a lot of respect for Jeff Jarrett. I have a lot of respect for Conrad Thompson. I think Conrad has done more for the wrestling profession and the business in the 21st century than any other human being on earth. And I really mean that. And especially in the way he has interjected and involved and empowered the fans. I have nothing but great things to say about both of these men. My problem was with the production side of it. And
I thought it was great.
I didn't. And I'm going to tell you why. When they were all in a circle before when the day came and they were all in the circle in Hendersonville Park, and I'm very familiar with this. I lived in Hendersonville for 18 years and worked in Gallatin and in Sumner County. And it's a wonderful place. I'd moved back there in a New York minute. I loved it. It's probably my most favorite place to live on the face of the earth outside of San Diego, which I've never lived in. But my point is, the audio was up and down, and they weren't totally mic'd up the way that film companies do it. And I know it's a documentary, and documentaries are a different animal and a different breed. And I also thought, I didn't think there was enough, I don't know if reverence is the right word, but enough, what's the word I'm looking for? There wasn't enough explanation about how Jeff got to be Jeff. And maybe I was looking for more. Maybe that's another documentary down the road. This was more about his homecoming and doing a wrestling show in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And by the way, there had been wrestling shows in Hendersonville, Tennessee before. Jerry Jarrett never ran one, quote unquote, but it was the hometown to quite a few of the wrestlers, Billy Dundee, Eddie Marlin, Jeff, of course, his dad, Jerry, several others. They ran shows in Gallatin at the Gallatin Armory and at the high school, the Civic Center later on in life. They ran Hendersonville a couple of times at the Hendersonville High School gym when Nick was involved. So it wasn't that Hendersonville, this was a first time ever kind of thing, but it was a first time ever for the Jarretts and for Jerry and for Jeff, rather, as Jerry's son. And I know that was special, but it just left me lacking. I thought it was emotional. I thought Jeff was as real could be, but it just left me sort of, we could have gone more with this. That's my total opinion. That has nothing to do with anybody on this panel. That's just what I consumed when I watched it. And I ended up watching it twice, Randy, because you sent me the link. And I watched it the second time because I said, well, maybe I missed something. I also was of the mindset, and I wasn't thinking TV, knowing that this was a documentary for TV, that this was going to be an hour show. And it ended up being 42 minutes or 41 minutes and 58 seconds or whatever the case may be, which is a made-for-TV hour-long show once you insert the promos and the commercials and that kind of thing. But I don't know. Now, I watched about 10 minutes of the post-show. It was done from Jerry's house. His family was involved. I thought the involvement of his family and his daughters and his wife was very, very well and very tastefully done. I will say that.
Let me jump in right there. You said from Jerry's house. It was obviously Jeff's house.
I'm sorry. Yes, from Jeff's house. I'm sorry. But, you know, I love it. I hope there's another one that deep dives into the generational history of the Jarrett family from Teeny and Christine Jarrett and Jerry, and then into Jeff. I think it's a wonderful story. I think it's a family story that I think needs to be shared. And I hope it's coming. But I don't think it was a bad show. I don't think it was a great show. I think it was a good show, but something about it just left me a little soft on it. That's my take.
I would say that the production budget of that wasn't a whole lot of money spent for that.
I agree.
Is that right? And that's the thing. There's not a lot of money spent for this show. $49 a month, basically, is what it cost me to have the Restream service that I use for the edit suite and all that. $49 a month. And I think this quality is great. Would it be network quality television, Michael? No. Correct?
No, but I think for what it is and what is done with this show, I think is an awesome job. And behind the scenes, Adam Dunn is a tremendous producer and a great mind, by the way. I've learned to really like the mental side of Adam. I've gotten to know him quite well in the last month or two, and he's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. I want to say this, and this is a funny story because you just brought up the budget thing. This is in my crawl I said this on the show yesterday on air. I go to church every Sunday, as you guys do. I go to mass and I go every Sunday. And I go to several churches because I'm one of these that I want to feel like when I go to church that I've been and I spent my time with God. And I want to come out feeling like I've been at church. And there's something that started in I don't know if this is the truth in Protestant churches or non-denominational churches, but it's certainly started in several Catholic churches. They have quit taking up the offering, the collection.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Well, here we go. In the Mass, I'm going to unveil some of the histories of Catholicism in the Mass. But at the Mass, there's a part of the Mass that is called the offertory, where there's an offering that you're making your offering to God. And the bread, the wine, you're offering yourself. Well, normally, every church I've ever been into, and until maybe the past 3 years, they pass a collection plate or a basket, or the ushers come up and they have the little basket on the stick and they send it down the pews and you make your offering. Well, now several of the churches no longer do that, but they have a little basket as you come into church in the morning and you drop your offering in that, which I akin to paying a cover charge. And I'm not real big on paying a cover charge to go to church. So I like the idea of passing the hat. Maybe I'm old school, but I am. So that's sort of my rant.
We still do that in my church. I've never heard of what you just said. I'm in shock.
Well,
No, we still do it at mine too.
So the Catholic Church has gone to a cover charge. What can I say?
That is crazy. Back me up, Adam, by those graphics I showed earlier. We're going to have a great show, and we had some interesting stuff to talk about, whether it was brawling basketball, whether it was farmers in trouble, whether it was documentary. This show is Talking Memphis Wrestling, watching Memphis Wrestling fired up. 1974 was a great year, and they built for the road to the gold, the match of the century. And if you could go ahead and put that on there, and it's 5376, Adam, and 5375, and this is the end of the greatest run in Memphis wrestling history that started end of May 74, ended up with the road to the GOAT, and Lawler wrestled so many people, including sellouts and wins over a lot of people, including the original Sheik, a couple of matches with Bobo Brazil, a couple of matches with Rufus R. Jones, Mr. Wrestling #2, Dick the Bruiser, Jerry Brisco, local sellouts with Robert Fuller, Rick Gibson, and the fabulous Jackie Fargo, all building to this card that took place in September 16th, 1974, the road to the GOAT. Ticket prices, as we mentioned earlier, absolutely unbelievable. $7 ringside. And remember, I think, what does WrestleMania tickets be now? And they didn't have cards like this, or they don't have cards like this. That it was unbelievable. $3, $4.50, $5.50, and $7. It was promoted by Burt Bates, Nick Gillis, and Roy Welch. The TV show was called Studio Wrestling on WHBQ TV channel 13, starting from the bottom, going to the top. Here's Michael St. John to tell you about the match of the year, the road to the GOAT, and this card on September the 16th, 1974. Michael, do the honors.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let me see. I had to put my glasses on. Opening match, tag team action. Jackie Fargo and Tojo Yamamoto take on the Bounty Hunters with their manager, and I can't read it, Jim
Lancaster.
Jim Lancaster. Okay. In the other opening matches include, and George Goulas is on this card, which I guess indicates that Nick was promoting. And was Jerry rather booking at this time?
Oh,
Randy?
absolutely. Jerry started booking in like 67 or 68. By the way, Johnny is asking what the gate for the show. It was a record setter. But attendance-wise, it wasn't one of the biggest of the year. It did 10,100 people. They were disappointed by the crowd, not disappointed by the money. Now, another Greg asked, and Michael, what's the best way to explain what the Loge tickets were?
Okay, the Loge area of an arena or a stadium is normally the first ring, what they call ring circle, the ring around off the floor. In other words, you're off the floor. You don't have floor seats. It's the first riser up, and it's normally a ring around the arena. The Von Braun Center has Loge tickets still to this day in between floor seats and the general admission.
That's where we sat that night. We sat in the Loge section that night. That's my first.
Chris was at this event, and Michael, go ahead and read this card.
Well, George Goulas took on manager Jim Lancaster. We'll pick it up from there. Former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Lou Thez against Don Green. I would have to say that would have been one hell of a match to watch because Don Green was one of the best workers in the territory at the time. And, of course, Lou Thez, probably the best bona fide professional wrestler in history. Robert Fuller, a very young man, taking on Dennis Hall, who at this time was probably teaming with either Ken Lucas or Bearcat Brown. Then the NWA Tag Team Championship, Al Green and Phil Hickerson, the most underrated tag team in the history of Memphis wrestling, according to the coach. They took on Eddie Marlin and Tommy Gilbert. They were the challengers. Sam Bass was in the corner of Al Green and Phil Hickerson. They were the NWA Southern Tag Team Champions at the time. Then in the main event for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, it was Jerry the King Lawler, his first opportunity to go for the gold, taking on the champion and an outstanding champion out of Oklahoma, an outstanding amateur wrestler, and then went into the pros and became one of the best heavyweight champions in our era, Jack Brisco. And again, big card. What a star. I mean, for $7 today, I bet you couldn't get into this card for less than $100.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. You absolutely could not. And Michael, I do this a lot of things. Certainly. It was pretty soon, James, that Jimmy Kent took over for Jim Lancaster as the bounty hunters. Lancaster did not last long, and Johnny says that Lou Thez Don Green match was stellar, and it absolutely was. I like, Michael, when we do our time frames and talk about different years, and we talked about what Chris was doing. He was in the damn Coliseum. He was there. Where were you living at the time, and had your wrestling involvement as a professional announcer started in wrestling? What were you doing in 74, and where were you living?
Yeah, well, I was 2 years away from having my first opportunity to call a professional wrestling match in Memphis. And I was program director of WERC FM in Birmingham, Alabama, and watching Channel 42 wrestling every Saturday night from the studios of Channel 42 on Red Mountain with Sterling Brewer, your commentator, and was living in Birmingham at 70 and then 74. I got my first national award as a broadcaster. I was named the Music Director of the Year in Kansas City, Missouri, at a national convention for the Gavin folks, and that was in December. And had the number one show on radio in Alabama with the Love Hour. I was between girlfriends, and I was living the life. I just bought a brand new 1974 Pontiac Grand Am with that rubber nose on it. And boy, there's those women, they love it. It was crimson red with crimson red in the leather interior. boy, I'll tell you, I drove down that street in Birmingham. I'd drive down the road and that car would go, here, kitty, 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 here, kitty, kitty, kitty. I mean, it was happening. But anyway, that's where I was in 74.
That is an interesting thing. Now, Adam, we're going to go ahead and go to the video and instruction as we go to this. We're going to come in and out of this because this was the big deal. This was the road to the gold. And I would say, Michael, the road to the gold, the build for Jerry Lawler getting the world title match was Jerry Jarrett at his most brilliant. And we talked about all the people they brought in, all the great talent, including certainly Dick the Bruiser and the Sheik and so many more. It was just absolute. Rufus R. Jones. It was just unbelievable, the business they did. It was a big deal. Over 10,000 people, even though it did not sell out. The atmosphere was great. And I wanted to go in and out of this because I just want us to pay attention to how important Lance sold the ring announcing. And Michael, we talk about the greatest host, Lance Russell, the greatest play-by-play guy, Lance Russell, the greatest interviewer. What people don't realize is how great a ring announcer that Lance is. And we're going to dissect this today on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Folks, I can tell by the time right now, we're not going to get to everything today, but that's okay. We can make it a two-parter. We'll get to this match right now as it's 16 minutes and 32 seconds. Adam prepared at my cue to come in and out of it. Chris, I want you and Michael both to just listen and see if it gives you goosebumps as it gave me, because not only did Lawler elevate, did Jack Brisco elevate, Lance Russell, who's the best anyway, took it, I think, to another level. This is 1632. This is September 16th, 1974. Match of the century. Jerry Lawler, Jack Brisco. Here is Lance Russell. Our mics will be hot.
That match, love it.
What an athlete-looking dude Jack Brisco was, his brother Jerry Brisco. And here's Lance.
Think he had any heat? Listen to the booze.
Nice to see Sam Bass dressed up for this.
Yes, sir.
Lance has on a light blue tux.
Yes. Lance looking good.
He's looking sharp.
Listen.
Will be 1 ball, 60 minutes in total duration. As sanctioned by the National Wrestling Alliance, at stake will be the World Heavyweight Championship title. Introducing first, the challenger at 228 pounds.
Booze there as well. And let's get out of that real quick, Adam. And I want, as a fellow announcer, as Michael, did he up his game in that ring announcement and add to the credibility of a world title match? Was that not awesome?
That's as good as it gets. That's as good as it gets. I saw a boxing match today. I just was waiting at a restaurant and a boxing match was on, and Michael Buffer was the ring announcer. And in this day and time, Michael Buffer is the gold standard of ring announcers. That was better. That was better. So, I mean, he's incredible. There is one thing, though, and I was going to bring this up, so I'll bring it up now. I was always told when doing a ring announcing for a championship match, you always introduce the champion first. And I don't know what the protocol is with I'm sure different promoters may do it different ways, but I know when we had Harley in town for Harley Race in town for Nick a couple of times, I was instructed that the homage went to the champion, that you gave the champion, he's the heavyweight champion of the world, Harley Race, and people would do their thing, and his challenger. And then you would do the build-up for the challenger. And I was told it was for two reasons. Number one, it was to give the homage to the champion, being introduced first. And also that introducing the challenger last gave the momentum from the crowd to the challenger. Because in just about every heavyweight championship match I've ever been involved with, and I've been in around a few, the champion always ends up being the heel. And
Hometown kid challenging for the title. That's
right.
why it was a mixed crowd. And by the way, in Memphis, I was in Memphis every Monday night for a long, long time. I was taught by Lance Russell, always the champion, whether it was a Southern title match or a Southern tag title match or a world title match. And Lance absolutely always did it in Memphis. The champion always announced first, but certainly in different ends of the territory, it could be totally different. So I don't dispute what you're saying at all, Michael. I'm just telling you, in Memphis, it was always the champion last.
Well, he introduced the champion. You said champion last. So you said champion first. So Lance
champion last.
All right, because that is different from what I understood. But I'm wondering, and I'm wondering because Lawler, were they anticipating that he would be the heel in his hometown for this match?
I think they probably, because I was not there, I think they anticipated that it would be a split crowd. That's what I was thinking. And Chris, I know this has been a long time ago when you were young at 74. And Tony, we did mention earlier the week before he had to wrestle Jack Brisco, he had to beat Jerry Brisco to win the title. Chris, do you remember that crowd being split? Do you remember that at all?
No, my memory was that they booed Lawler because I was a Lawler fan. Because I still say this, I don't care, 2026, 50 plus years I've been watching this, the best heel ever is that guy standing in that video right there. Early 70s to mid 70s, Lawler's the best heel ever. So they booed. I remember them booing him, and I'm thinking and I was a kid, but I'm thinking I'm the only one for him in the whole. My grandfather's with me. He was for Jack Brisco. He took me to watch Lawler get his ass beat because he knew I loved Lawler, and my papa couldn't stand him. So that's why we went.
I think if Lawler would have won the title that night, I think the people, because it was a hometown kid doing good and winning the title, I think if he'd have won, even if he cheated with a chain to win, I think the people would have popped. I think they would have. But who knows? Predicting a wrestling crowd ain't easy. What do you think, Michael?
That's it's just an interesting scenario because they had led up to this match for a year? I mean, the road to the goal was over a year's in the making.
Yes.
And so, I mean, you would have thought that the crowd would have been geared to, even though he was a heel in the territory, he's going up for the championship. How cool is it to have the World Heavyweight Championship in your hometown, in your home territory? You would have thought it, but it obviously didn't happen that way. I have a question, and is this the point? And again, it was Nick's, still Nick's and Roy's territory, as the saying goes. But was this the point where Jerry challenged Sam Munchnick as wanting to push Lawler and Sam not wanting to push Lawler? Was this where this all began, or was that later in 77?
I'm not sure about that. I do know that they got heat. The Memphis office got heat, and I think that was in Louisville in 76 when Andre the Giant ended up getting kind of out of the ring for Lawler, and Bill Apter put on the magazine that we showed a few weeks ago here on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Andre loses to a midget, and that got heat with Sam Munchnick big time. That got heat for sure, without a doubt. I want to say hi to Tony Richards, saying hello to Coach Michael and me, and he said he's joined a little late. He joined enough to correct me on something that I'd already talked about, but that's okay.
Well, one thing, too, about Tony, congratulations. He just got an award that's going to be given to him in Dubuque at the big wrestling convention up there that I'm still wanting us to do a panel broadcast from, by the way. But he was named the media person or the
Jim Melby Award. And we talked about
that's
that
big.
We talked about that when he was on this show a few weeks ago. Chris, do you have anything to add to what we're saying before we go back to this world title match?
No, other than, not knowing how it all worked back then, like when Lawler, and I'm showing my age here, but y'all remember too.
We're both older than you.
I know, but remember in the 70s, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Ken Norton, Jimmy Young, they had these world title fights in boxing all the time. Y'all remember that? They were on TV.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we only got regional territory wrestling back then. I didn't get to see the world champion in wrestling hardly ever. Like on Wide World of Sports, you got to see the world champion 3 or 4 times a year in boxing. We all knew who all those guys were. But except for the wrestling mags, I didn't know about the world champion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when Jack Brisco is standing in the ring in it wasn't my hometown, but it was my home territory, that's a big deal. I mean, it's like Muhammad Ali's come to town, except it's wrestling. So
Perfect.
for a kid from Arkansas that never got to see the world champion, seeing Jack Brisco fight my guy was a big deal, like huge deal.
And that was the draw of having one champion and controlled out of the St. Louis office and bringing him into all the territories and in other countries as well. That was part of it as well. Just real quick, if I may interrupt, somebody wants to say hi.
Hey, Joshua.
Hi, Joshua.
Hey, what's going on? You good?
What's going on? What were you just doing? Where were you before you came down here?
Just sitting on the couch.
No, you weren't. You were upstairs playing Xbox.
I'm
Don't give me that. Of course you're kidding. By the way, he Pawpaw used to read storybooks to him. Now he's reading to Pawpaw. So that's this little guy's getting big. So say hello to everybody out there.
Hey.
All right. We'll see you, bud. He took a break. I told him, I said, take a break from Xbox. Come down and be on the show. Sorry about that interruption.
No problem at all. We like to have Joshua on the show. And this was September the 16th, 1974. We heard the great announcement, the fantastic announcement from the great Lance Russell. And now we will continue this right now on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Lance in a tux and Thomas Marlin looking sharp as well, Michael.
Indeed. I love it how they bring Tommy Marlin in as a special referee. He had such credibility. Was super.
One camera shoot, Michael, talking about production earlier.
Well, this is the way, and this was Ken Parnell, right?
More than
Yes.
10,000 people gathered in the Mid-South Coliseum to witness.
And I think Lance is doing a voice over here.
Between
This is not
Jerry Lawler,
play-by-play
the
at the
challenger,
event.
And the world's heavyweight king.
Okay, Randy,
Jack
as the booker,
Brisco.
Lawler
Brisco
always
offers the
had
hand.
Sam.
Brisco with about a
So
two
they
and a
put
half
Jerry
pound advantage over Lawler at 230
with
to
Jack for what
227 and a
reason?
half.
Counteract Sam.
Yes,
Special referee
real
Tommy
simple
Marlin.
psychology.
Okay.
Instructs Sam Bass, manager of Lawler, to stay in the chair and don't
I'm
get out.
sitting over here to the
There's
right,
the bell, and the World
face
Heavyweight
up
Championship
behind
is
Jack
underway.
Briscoe's corner.
That's cool.
Brisco, immediately the aggressor, moves
I
Lawler
like my
back
world
into the corner.
champions
With the arm drag,
looking
the
like
top
an
kick, and
athlete.
Brisco goes
Look
after
at
him
that
in a hurry.
Jack.
He may be looking
He was a great
for
athlete.
some revenge in the fact that
Left-handed.
Jerry Lawler defeated his brother, Jerry Brisco.
There's your background on why
Jack
Jerry
Brisco.
Briscoe's in the ring or in the corner.
Right.
Chases Lawler right out of the ring and begs him to come back in and take some more. Lawler taking the full count. Moves to the ring ropes, but Brisco helped him in.
Y'all mentioned Thomas
Once
Marlin
again,
earlier.
Lawler down.
As a kid, Bill
And
Mack was
Jack
the referee.
Brisco
So
smashes
when you
Lawler.
saw Thomas
Goes for a
Marlin, it
reverse
was
face
like a
lock. The referee
bigger
checks to
level
see whether
match.
Lawler
Like,
submits.
Thomas Marlin's refereeing.
So far, it's all Jack Brisco. Lawler has been known as a very slow starter. He has tremendous stamina. At 24 years old, he has made the boast that he can wrestle all night, the likes of Jack Brisco. If the first minute and a half is any sample, he'll never be able to live up to that boast. Brisco holds that reverse face lock from referee Tommy Marlin, making a point.
Boy, everybody dressed up for this one. Tommy Marlin in the long sleeve white shirt with the bow tie. How classy is that?
Lawler with the pressure on, and Sam once again.
Even
being
Sam
told
was
to get
dressed
back
up,
in
as
the
you
chair
said
and stay
earlier.
there. Lawler refusing to submit, and Brisco,
Jack
Very
Briscoe beat
strong,
Harley Race
cat
in
quick, a
1973
great amateur wrestler from Oklahoma State,
to
pours the
become
heat
the
on
world
his
heavyweight
brash
champion.
challenger tonight. The crowd, a mixed reaction to Lawler. That's the way it has always been with him.
Adam
Those
makes a
who hate him
comment
and
on
those
the
who
ring
love him
ropes that were
for
taped.
his arrogance.
Adam said they might even have new tape. They
Right at the
spent
moment,
money
you can
on
see
new
that
tape
Jack
for those
Brisco
rope
has
tapes.
neither
Adam's right.
respect nor
Those
fear
ropes
for
look
Lawler.
good even. They're dressed up.
He continues with a hold, and
Michael?
Lawler
Indeed, it is the World
Trying to
Heavyweight
pry
Championship. And
Briscoe's
I think Coach
arm off. No
alluded to the
success.
fact that
Jack
that's how it was
really
when the
has it
champion
uptight.
came to town. It was special. It was very,
Lawler
very special.
is able to move over on
And
his
to
knees.
that being
Brisco
said, to
slides
today's
behind.
world, I think the championships, whether it's boxing or wrestling, or perhaps any other sport along this line, I think have been watered down and diminished. I don't
Now
know
Lawler
if
to
because
his
you
feet.
see them all the time or
Brisco
what,
having a
but I
hard
don't think
time
it has
holding
the
that reverse face lock
it has
as
the
Lawler starts to
gravitas
pry
that it
his way
had
out.
back in those days.
And you can hear the
So
Lawler
when King
fans come to their
became
feet and
the
start cheering for the
world champion,
self-proclaimed king.
What I can't think of what he call it. The world class and USWA together.
Jerry
Unified
Lawler
Call it
time.
something. Anyway,
finally to
it was
top
not
off,
the same
reaches
as
up,
when
grabs
he
the
wrestled
hair,
Briscoe.
and pulls Jack
Harley
Brisco
Race
back
and
to the
Bockwinkel.
canvas and for the
It
first
just
Oh,
was
time.
absolutely
Lawler with an
not.
arm
To
bar
answer the question earlier,
shows any semblance
this broke
of
all-time
getting to
gate
Jack Brisco.
receipts. This drew more money at the point than anything in the history of wrestling at the Mid-South
Referee Tommy
Coliseum.
Marlin tells
It was
Sam
not
Bass back to the
even
chair. And
the
here
best
comes
crowd
Jerry
of the
Brisco
month
out of his brother's corner to be
because
certain that he goes
this
back to
drew
the chair.
10,125 people.
Brisco takes Lawler
About a
over,
month
but Jerry
before,
holds right on and slams
Lawler and
Brisco
Dick the
into the canvas.
Bruiser drew
It's for
11,800
all the
people.
marbles. The
However,
World Heavyweight
even though
Championship
$7
title
sounds cheap,
challenger
in
Jerry Lawler
1974, Michael, there were some people out
putting
there
the
that just
pressure on
couldn't
that
do it.
arm bar
It's true.
on
That's
champion
true.
Jack Brisco.
We
You know, you
couldn't. That's
mentioned-
why we sat in the 450 seats.
Well, you mentioned Jack.
The $7 seat.
The crowd
You mentioned
quiet as
Jack.
Lawler
You
still
mentioned
trying to
Lawler
regain
and Dick the Bruiser.
some
I'm not so sure
That
that at
reverse
that
face
point in
lock
time in
that Jack Brisco
the wrestling
successfully
history of
held on him
Memphis,
for
Dick the
some
Bruiser
minutes.
wasn't over bigger as a national attraction than the world heavyweight champion, Jack Brisco, because at this point, I don't think Brisco had been champion for that long, correct?
At this point, maybe a year. Maybe a year hadn't come into Memphis, and no, and Dick the Bruiser had been in before as well. So I agree with that statement. I started off the show disagreeing with you, but I will 100% agree right there. This is a wrestling match, and Lawler's reputation is that he's a brawler only. Jerry Lawler could wrestle, boy. Jerry Lawler could work. There's no doubt about it, Chris. Do you agree?
I saw.
Hold on a second. I'm having to drag something that wants.
Media X/, whatever you will call it. And talking about the greatest wrestling match he's ever a part of. He wrestled Lawler. Lawler could wrestle him.
Once again,
yeah.
He's if not the greatest, one of the greatest ever. He said he made you look like $1 million and make himself look like $1 million.
Moving back and forth on the bicep. And Lawler, a quick move into a body.
Do you miss this style of wrestling, Michael?
Absolutely. This is real wrestling.
Jerry Lawler. Again, taking
I've only seen Lawler do this one other time, and it was in a world title match. But I don't know if it's one of the ones we're looking at or not, so I won't.
Jerry Lawler now with Jack Brisco in the center of the ring. Lawler pounding away. Has Brisco in real trouble for the first time in this bout.
When was the last time in professional wrestling did we see this kind of a match from either AEW or the WWE or anybody else for that matter? When did this go away?
Reverse face lock.
I'm trying to think. Do you think the WWF Attitude Era back in
trying to get away from challenger Jerry
96, 7, 8, that sort of thing? Do you think it might have went away then?
I think that's a good point. That if it didn't go away then, that was a good starting point of it to diminish what this wrestling is all about. Which, by the way, this is professional wrestling.
I would say the Attitude Era combined with the ECW garbage.
I think a big deal, guys, with the NWA Traveling World Championship in probably 87, maybe, Michael, when it became not a world championship, but a Jim Crockett control. It was a company championship. That's when it changed.
I think that's very good. I think the Flair era was when Flair's showmanship took over for, and don't get me wrong, Flair could wrestle. He could do this, but his showmanship overshadowed the great wrestler the great technician wrestler that Ric Flair was. And I think you're right during the Crockett. Once Crockett got a hold of it, and perhaps Georgia Championship Wrestling had something to do with it as well.
There's only 2 remaining men
over to check and remind Lawler that he has to have it on the chin. He
Dory
can't drop it down on the throat. Brisco once again starts his move to try to work his way out.
I think you're dead right. That was the end of the era, and there's only 2 of those guys left that ever fulfilled that.
Pulls him back down.
Who's left?
He dropped a beautiful
Dory
move
Funk
by
Jr.
Brisco, but Jack, after the long duration of that reverse face lock, falls forward on his face.
Now, in the progression of the world champion, the NWA World Championship, Kiniski lost to Dory Jr. Dory Jr. lost to Brisco. Then Brisco loses to Funk, right? To Terry, right?
It's a count of 10 for the wrestlers to
Terry
be able
lost the
to
race.
be on their feet and resume.
So
Brisco
Dory beat Gene Kiniski. Harley Race beat Dory. Short-term
catches
title
another right
run.
across the small of the back.
And then Jack Brisco
Brisco,
and
who is
Houston
in
in
serious
73
trouble, being
beat
really cheered on by brother Jerry
Jack
Brisco.
beat Harley. And
Jerry
then Jack
Brisco
lost
felt the lash
December
of that
10th, I
severe
think, in
right hand of
1975, my
Lawler's, and Lawler
birthday.
defeated Jerry.
Funk beat
And
Terry
Lawler
Funk
down
beat
on the
Jack
deck,
Brisco.
but his legs are draped over the rope, and the referee will ask.
Boy, this
Jack
is
Brisco to
legacy
back up.
right here.
Lawler
And you're right about Jack Brisco, because you look at Jack, he's built well. And again, he was a great amateur champion and a collegiate champion. And just like Luthez in the progression of things, just like Luthez, great amateur background that turned into a phenomenal professional background.
He shows a lot of fire as a babyface champion or babyface in general, but he can also fail.
Good point. He's selling like crazy right here.
Jerry Lawler
Crowd beginning to turn a little bit here.
The world's heavyweight champion, but Jack Brisco hasn't retained that title without desire. Suplex. Brisco in real trouble now. Lawler gets a count of 1. Count of 2.
This is definitely a voiceover, by the way, by Lance.
Jack Brisco, everything left in him. From
now,
somewhere
this back in the era with they were shooting in film. So when they shot by film, did they not do live commentary at all?
I don't think that. I think when you shot film, if I'm not mistaken, you couldn't do audio on 8mm or 16mm. I think this is 16mm, perhaps, at this point. I don't think you could do voice on it from the setup they have. I think you had to go back in the studio and do a VO. I know when film was used, when I got involved and film was used, I would always have to go to either, well, most of the time, of course, Randy Westhouse and do a VO for it and do a voiceover. And that's a whole different, by the way, commentating wise, that's a whole different world, because you can actually self-prepare because you've seen the film. You know what's going to happen, so you can self-prepare.
And Lance is doing a great job on this. Randy West, watching the show today, at this point in 74, this was several years before Randy West was working for the wrestling company. So I would assume that Mike Shields was the cameraman at this point in time.
Neither one of them.
No, I'm positive of that. I'm just noticing, the reason I say I know this is voiceover by Lance is if you can catch it, his verbalism, the way he's calling the matches is if he's calling it on radio. He's giving an awfully lot of descriptive commentary, whereas normally Lance has a lot of letting the picture does the talking kind of thing involved in his commentary, because that's what made him so good. He could do it either way.
Adam said earlier in the earlier chat that it sounded like Lance was using his radio voice, and that would be why, Michael.
Lawler once again
absolutely
kicks his way out, and down goes referee Tommy Marlin.
Let's watch this finish.
Tommy Marlin flat on his back. Jack Brisco with his brother hollering, "Get up, Jack, get up." Jerry Lawler in the center of the ring.
Listen to the people here.
Standing upright. Nails Jack Brisco with that vicious right hand. Goes for the cover, and here's referee Tommy Marlin. 1, 2, this could be it. 3, the new world's heavyweight champion, Jerry Lawler. And Lawler.
And there we go at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. And one thing that I brought up a few weeks ago, Memphis got the reputation, and Lance even complained about it, doing a lot of disqualifications. However, in this particular thing, you couldn't switch the world title, and you didn't want to flat out beat the guys that would be main eventing 52 weeks out of the year. But Michael, in your opinion, and we'll ask Chris later, after your response, did we overdo disqualifications in Memphis?
You know, I heard that a lot. And, you know, with the angles that were being shot and protecting the integrity of who your fails and your baby faces were, I don't necessarily agree with it. You did see it a lot. I'll tell you what I saw more that I disagreed with, not the DQs, but the run-ins. And it got to a point, and when I was doing the shows, that if there was a brawl breaking out, people would quit watching what was going on in the brawl or the ring, and they'd be looking at the door to see who in the hell was going to come flying out of the door. So I think, if anything, the negativity may have been on the run-ins because I think the disqualifications help tell the stories. So I
agree.
I don't agree. I don't agree with it not being. I think it's part of the game.
I think it is because remember, a lot of territories ran their main towns once a month, and in Memphis it was 52 weeks out of the year, and you had to continue that story. So, Chris, final thoughts on that Jack Brisco Lawler deal, and give your input as a young person. Did you get aggravated when there was disqualification?
Well, honestly, I don't remember that aspect of it being young, but I can tell you in this match right here, I did not realize he had not won until the next week on TV. Because everybody jumped up when the king got his hand raised, and I'm 3 foot tall. And everybody's cheering and going crazy. And then Thomas Marlin reversed it with Jack laying on the mat. I can't see. We're leaving to go out the door. I mean, I left there assuming he'd won the world championship till TV next Saturday. I didn't know any better.
Wasn't that an awesome? Whoever came up with the finish, I'd never seen that before, and I don't know if I've seen it since. Lawler hits him with the chain, puts the chain under his armpit, gets the cover. He goes up. He's raising the other arm, and Sam Bass is raising the other arm. Tommy Marlin grabs the arm that the chain's under, raises it up, chain falls out. What a brilliant finish. Brilliant finish.
Over the years, I've used it, I've stole it, and I've seen it a lot of times. I would think that would have been a Jerry Jarrett finish. I would absolutely think that. Go ahead and put James. Do what?
Here's my problem with the finish. Lawler was always smart. He was always really smart, conniving, slick, backstabbing. Always had an angle. He gonna be dumb enough to put the chain under his arm?
He was that night.
The excitement of the moment.
Yeah.
The excitement of the moment.
Yeah. James Davis says, this is medicine for me being in and out of the hospital. So I'm glad you're enjoying this. I knew this show would be good. And Team Hales is really making great comments. I'm looking at Frank's comments. I know Jack was a great athlete, but I read that he would smoke a cigarette in the locker room. And that's true as well. We are going to skip to 1970.
Harley Race would drink a case of beer in the locker room.
Absolutely.
Who'd you say, Michael?
Harley.
Oh, Harley. Yeah.
We're going to skip ahead, and we're just going to let this go. This is just the last minute of the first Lawler Funk World Championship match. Lawler, Terry Funk. This happened August the 22nd, 1976. August of 1976. It did 10,800 people, and this card was on a Sunday. Y'all remember the Osmond brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling? Do you, Chris?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wrestling was moved from Monday to Sunday for this Funk Lawler card due to the Osmond brothers selling out the Mid-South Coliseum on Monday night. This card was Don Kernodle against Rip Smith, Plowboy Frazier and Dennis Hall against Norvell Austin and the Scorpion, Bob Armstrong and Robert Fuller against the Masked Superstars, then Rocky Johnson and Bill Dundee against Tommy Gilbert and David Schultz, and Jerry Lawler against Terry Funk. And we're going to watch this again, the last 1 minute and 31 seconds, Lawler, Terry Funk, and we won't comment on this until after the thing is over. We wish that we had the whole match. We don't. Just 1 minute 31 as we watch now on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Picked him up for a body slam and fell straight over backwards. Funk on him. Rolls him over. And look at this. He's back. There's no way. They are so tired. We're down to the 60-second mark. After 59 minutes of it, Lawler really tanked Terry Funk. With only 45 seconds to go, Lawler tries to roll him into a pin position. He's got him. Count of one. But he only gets 1.5. Terry Funk. Sheer drive. Kicks his way out of it. 30 seconds to go. Funk hit him with a left and a right. They had no sting at all behind him. Lawler with the elbow. Drops it again. 15 seconds to go. He still has time. Once again, Terry Funk saved by a leg over the rope. Lawler falls back on him, and a 60-minute draw between the world heavyweight champion Terry Funk and challenger Jerry.
One thing about the traveling world champion, Chris, is that they were going all over the world. And 8 times out of 10, they were going 1 hour draw with the local challenger. I mean, that has you, man, you have to have respect. But then again, you have to look at on the other end of the thing. Terry Funk was more experienced in going an hour than Jerry Lawler was. But your comments, Chris, on that 1 minute, 31 seconds.
Well, I always thought Lawler and Funk had great chemistry. And then Terry Funk, I actually think is underrated as a wrestler because in the later years he became he became a hardcore guy in ECW. Then he became kind of comical in other areas. But back in the 70s and 80s, I think he was really, really good. And I think people forget that sometimes how good he was. And he was a real athlete too. I mean, a really good athlete. But he could sell his butt off, and the facial expressions and all that told the story from Terry Funk and the funny things he would say all made a unique package, in my opinion.
Michael, your comments on Funk Lawler in this match, August the 22nd, 1976.
Well, you're absolutely right about the champion going Broadway in a lot of 60-minute draws across the country. But I will say this, and having called 2 60-minute Broadways for championship matches, there's a lot of downtime in that 60 minutes. A lot of times on the floor, a lot of times arguing with the referee, interacting with the crowd. There's breaks. I mean, it's not 60 minutes of just go, 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 go. I don't know if anybody alive can do that in this day and time or even back then, but they were pacing themselves. And I think the pace of the match was very indicative of the champion and how good he was at doing it. The one thing I think you can say about the champions during the era we're looking at right now, and I think, Randy, you hit a nail on the head when you said this, they all could sell like a son of a gun. And I don't care if it was Stez or Rogers or Kaniski or the Brisco or the Funks or even Lawler, even Ric Flair in his day, in his heyday, they could sell, whether it was a punch, whether it was a kick, whether it was an illegal move, whatever the case may be, feign an injury, they could sell. And I think that is so tantamount to telling the story in these championship matches. But my thoughts go out to people like Harley Race, and you guys know Harley is the best of my era. And I think there was no one better at any of that than Harley Race. But to the same token, it was somebody made mention, it's a different kind of athlete back then. Even Lynn Dawson smoked, and he was the quarterback of the Chiefs that won a championship. So, I mean, heck, Harley Race would bring a case of beer in the locker room, and it was like, what? They were tough son of a guns. And to carry that gold literally around the world for the length of periods of time that they did, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever the case may be, totally a credit to what kind of athletes professional wrestlers are and were.
It's 8:19 talking Memphis wrestling. Thanks to the audience that's really engaged in this show. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to Michael St. John. I've made the executive decision. We're going to hold up on the Jerry Lawler Nick Bockwinkel story, and we'll have several Nick Bockwinkel Jerry Lawler matches we'll show next week. We're going to our photo segment in just a few minutes, or just a few seconds, as a matter of fact, after a break. But we want to do some quick takes, some quick thoughts as we go through all these. But first of all, we're going to take a break. We're going to show a video, whichever one to get us 10, 15 seconds that Adam want to show, and Michael St. John, Chris Ellis, and myself, it's Randy Hales, and we'll be back on Talking Memphis Wrestling as we going home as we take a break.
Snowbird's back in the Mid-South again with a word from Snowbird. He's bringing sound advice for school kids, and the Bird and all the gang will be on TV5 throughout the week with safety tips and advice for the whole family. Watch for a word from Snowbird 3 times each Saturday, once early morning, again during championship wrestling, and once more Saturday afternoon. Brought to you in part by Turner Dairies, Maxi and TV5.
Randy Hales here. Pictures of the week, and we are going to start with something that's my proudest moment in the wrestling business, and something we still do today. And this sums it up, that great night when the idea was formed in my silly head to have Monday Night Memories, bringing back the legends. It was the first major idea I ever pitched. I was the assistant booker. I pitched this because Lawler was going to New York most Mondays. The territory was down. It was struggling, and I'm thinking we need to have a hell of a house here. So I pitched. Lawler had me produce the television and book the television and book the talent and do the budget, everything going into this thing. And it was Monday Night Memories, March the 7th, 1994. Do this picture, Adam, with the group of legends this night. And there's one person that I forgot who it is, and Michael will need to help me. It's 5373. 5373. As we got in the media room at the Coliseum, we got a lot of the talent, a whole lot of the talent put together. And Michael, start with the very first row, and then obviously I can identify everybody on here, but one in this entire picture. And for some reason, it just, I can't think of who the hell it is. Michael, describe this picture.
Well, on the sofa, going in the red tie, going left to right, is Corsica Joe. And in the middle is Don Green, or excuse me, Al Green.
That's Al.
The gentleman on the right, I recognize, and I can't call his name.
Jim White.
Jim White. Okay, that's Jim White, Lawler's first tag team partner. Back row, behind Jim White is Phil Hickerson. And,
he watched you, huh?
Yes. And is that Don Carson next to him? Then Sputnik Monroe, Buddy Wayne, Jeff Jarrett, a gentleman I don't recognize, Eddie Marlin, in the big, thick Mr. Magoo glasses. I'm not sure of that. And Don Green over on the far left.
Tommy Gilbert in the cowboy hat.
Tommy Gilbert. My gosh, I wouldn't have recognized. I wouldn't have thought that was Tommy.
The person in between Eddie Marlin and Buddy Wayne is referee Bill Mack that Chris mentioned earlier.
Okay, is he in front of Tom or Eddie Marlin? That's not Bill Mack. Bill Mack's to the left of Eddie, right?
Yes, it's Don Green, Eddie Marlin, Bill Mack, then Jerry Jarrett, Buddy Wayne, Sputnik Monroe, Tommy Gilbert, Phil Hickerson.
Okay.
It's driving me crazy that I cannot think of this guy's name. But your thoughts, Chris Ellis, on this picture?
Well,
Fresh Phillips. Thank God for Adam Dunn. Tretch Phillips is who that is. Michael?
I don't remember him.
I don't remember him either, but this picture is the 70s. For me as a kid, this is the 70s. Tojo's not in it, and Fargo's not in it, which that's big, but you take all these, like I said, referee Bill Mack, Eddie wrestled with Tommy Gilbert. They were tag team. Condry's not in it with Phil, but like those are the 70s. Corsica Joe's a little before my time. Like I don't remember him that good, but all those other guys are from my childhood. Remember them so well, like vivid memories.
Now, this was 94. Is that correct?
March
Randy?
the 7th, 1994, did almost 9,000 people. The week before was 1,000 people. So, Chris, I'm sure James Davis, 5613, if you'd read his comment out, if we could put James' comment back on there, because Chris will like this, is go ahead and say it, Chris.
Yeah, Hickerson and Condry were awesome tag team. Yes, sir. Bicentennial Kings. They were great. Hickerson's so underrated. Condry may be the greatest tag team wrestler ever, or one. I know he's one of, maybe ever, with all the tag teams he was in. And Hickerson's so underrated. And for the people who don't know, when I made the comment about P.Y. Chuhai, before I ever met Michael St. John, my only recollection of him was a deal on the wrestling show with Lawler about P.Y. Chuhai. So that's an inside joke.
I still get that from people. This is, and maybe this is me, and you mentioned with Hickerson and Condry. I had always thought that Hickerson reminded me a lot of his style and how he was in the ring, his ring presence, if you would, to the man that's sitting on the couch, Al Green. I always thought that Phil Hickerson was a chip off the old Al Green block.
Absolutely. And certainly I wanted to read this card from, as we can keep that photo up there, from March the 6th, 1994. The Nightmares and Skull Bond Crush opened up the card with Spellbinder Jeff Gaylord on that. So it was one Nightmare and Skull Bond Crush against Spellbinder and Gaylord. Second match was an angle match, JC Ice against Wolfie D, the Battle of Partners. Coco Ware against Billy Travis. Tommy Rich against the returning Handsome Jimmy Valiant. The Moondogs, we went back in the toolbox for this thing. The Moondogs against Leatherface and Dr. Frank, a 6-man tag team match with Jerry Lawler, Brian Christopher, and Austin Idol against Terry Funk, the Gilberts, in a 6-man. Then a 10-man Best of Memphis elimination match that Jerry Lawler won. The first ever Hall of Fame, Sam, 2 days before on television. Then in the arena, it was Don and Al Green. Even though deceased, Jerry Jarrett accepted for Tojo Yamamoto. Sam Bass, of course, was on television. Jerry Jarrett for Tojo. Lance Russell and Sputnik Monroe was the headliners there, was absolutely the headliners there for sure. We're going to talk about the last great draw in the Memphis territory. This is Louisville. We're going to go from 53. We'll do this real quick. 53-56 to 53-66. This is Louisville, Kentucky. It's 53-56 to 53-66. So, Adam, as we show, and we'll go through this quick and comment, and this is a big crowd on a Sunday. The Rage in the Cage main event, Smoky Mountain against the USWA. Picture number 1. Picture number 2. Again, you see, as they're putting the cage up, picture number 3. This is the superstar Bill Dundee. with signing autographs for sure. And it was what caused us not to have a sellout that night was a big lightning storm in Louisville. Next picture. And when we get to the end of these pictures, Adam, just to come back to us, because I'm not sure which is the end, and if there's another with the USWA Smoky Mountain deal, as this, the reason those seats are empty is the back section on each side was roped off for the wrestlers to have the ability to watch the matches and not have interaction with the fans. Is there any more, Adam? If there's not, just come back to us any more. As I love that flag at the Louisville Gardens, Michael.
Yeah, it covers up the hanging scoreboard for basketball and hockey and other events. But yeah, that's a very nice touch.
As we see it again. Anything else on the USWA Smoky Mountain stuff? As again, we see that. Just a great night in the Memphis. Everything was just doing great business, and that card was done without Jerry Lawler on the card. Imagine that. Without Jerry Lawler on the card. I think that might be Brandon Baxter there. And it was just a great night at the Louisville Garden. So any comments, Chris, about the last great feud, Smoky Mountain and USWA?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was well done. I liked it because I was familiar with so many Smoky Mountain wrestlers and the way that all worked together. I've never been to Louisville Gardens, so that looked like quite a good crowd for that venue, and I was glad to see it draw like it did, because I know it became harder in the 90s to draw once cable TV and all the entities had so much wrestling, on television and pay-per-views, and being started taking guys and et cetera, et cetera. So the fact y'all could do such a good job and draw people and still have the show on every week and all that was, I mean, just a great job of everybody.
I always thought, I'm sorry,
ahead,
Rand, real quick, I always thought that Louisville, of all the arenas, was the best suited for wrestling. I mean, you were close to the ring. Even your people in the risers were close to the ring, had great acoustics. And back in those days, Randy, they were the only arena that served beer.
That's right. Absolutely. And I was going to move to the next subject in the next set of pictures, but I don't want to do that now because I want to tell you a funny story. Michael, I'm sure you listened to the Jim Cornette Experience, correct?
Well, I do. I haven't caught it in a few weeks, but I will catch it tomorrow because I've got to go to TV. Yes. And
later on, James, OVW did run a few Louisville Gardens shows, and it was a spectacular thing, and there is no doubt about it. Here's a funny story. Cornette was running Smoky Mountain Wrestling up in East Tennessee. I've told the story before. It was kind of a fluke thing. I brought the Rock and Roll Express in for one match, turned it in to this major, memorable angle and program that drew money. However, on this particular night, we had Jim Cornette booked. We had a lot of people booked, and we were doing the blow off here. In the same time, Cornette used to do Fan Fest. The guy that protects the business more than anybody is the one that brought fans together from all over the country and to talk open about the business to them. Jim Cornette did this, and Brian Lass was a teenager from New York that he's told this story on the podcast. So they were smart ass fans, and they thought they were smart. And so this was a USWA show, a USWA TV, a USWA baby faces, USWA town. Absolutely. So these smart asses that came loved loved Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And I didn't give them no break on the tickets. They had to pay full price for them, but they were heckling the USWA stars. They were cheering the Smoky Mountain stars. Guess who had to have a police escort out of the building? Brian freaking Last and those Smoky Mountain fans from New York City, because they started bad-mouthing Lance Russell and Randy Hales and Frank Morrell and PG-13 and all that sort of thing. And we almost had a riot at the Louisville Gardens because they tried to be cute. Does that surprise you at all, Michael?
Not really. It's Cornette's involved. Come on. Oh, that doesn't. It does and it doesn't. But that's a great story, Randy. That's a great story.
You like my story, Chris?
That's a great story, and I'm like Michael. Cornette's involved. Listen to what stuff he says and does. Doesn't surprise me at all.
And a lot of times I give a different perspective because not only is somebody that watched Memphis wrestling and had studied Memphis wrestling since the early 70s. That particular time, I was the promoter and the booker. It was my baby. And so I can give that kind of perspective because I bet Jerry Lawler, who wasn't even there, I bet he didn't know that happened with the Smoky Mountain. Jerry Jarrett wasn't at the town that night. By the way, little extra deal. Whoopi D's girlfriend at the time, Denise, had gone to the hospital. She was expecting, had gone to the hospital in Nashville. And I guess I wouldn't have forced him, but he knew what was riding on it. He knew it was a blow off. He knew the advance. He knew how important it was. He knew it was one of his most high profile matches. And so he went ahead and went with me and Frank Morrell to that card. And then soon as the matches were over, he jumped into that Cadillac of mine and we hightailed it back to Nashville. And the baby had already arrived. And we knew it on the cell phone. I called Lawler and told Lawler about what the house was. And another interesting situation, I got lucky. That was going to be a Tuesday card, that blow off, followed a day after the Memphis blow off. But the manager of the Louisville Gardens came to me and said, Randy, this is last minute. We have a chance Tuesday night to get a certain event. I don't know what the event is. He said, we have Sunday opening. Will you move your event to Sunday? He gave me maybe 7-8 days. We still had a chance to change the TV up to plug the show. But anyway, he said, we'll give it to you at 20% your regular rent, 20%. Not 100% of what we usually pay. I knew where this program was going. I knew what the card would do, but I'm thinking I can save 80% here. And so without telling him, I had a big blow off going. I said, well, it's hard. I'll have to call all this talent. And I knew Cornette didn't run on a Sunday. I knew it wouldn't be hard at all. I knew they'd rather work Sunday in Louisville. They could come straight from Knoxville to Louisville and go to Memphis. I knew that. It was a hell of a house, and we made a hell of a profit. And again, that's a perspective, Michael, including the perspective of Whoopi D having a baby. Nobody else can give that perspective, and that you can only hear on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Well, I'd say this much. It's probably the most profit-filled night that Memphis Wrestling had that year in Louisville, without a doubt. I didn't know that story, but that's a neat story.
Chris, do you like it?
Oh yeah, because I've been a part of that, renting buildings to put on stuff and rent racetracks, and yeah, if they'd gave me 80% off, I'd have moved to whatever night they wanted. So I'm still going to have the same number of people. That's just money in my pocket. So yeah, I can relate.
And it was a hell of a deal because the TV came on Sunday at noon by that point. And so it was tonight. I mean,
Oh yeah, that's really big. Yeah.
we're changing eras. We'll go right through this 53-50 through 50 to 54. This is the Andy Kaufman story. This was April the 5th, 1982. Drew 8,200 people. The final match was Jerry Lawler against comedian Andy Kaufman from Taxi. The semifinal match was Bobby Eaton and Sweet Brown Sugar against Robert Gibson and Steve Kern. Jerry Lawler against the Monk. Steve Kern, Stan Lane, and Eric Embry against Luke Graham, Angel, and the Green Machine. Bobby Fulton against J.R. Hart, and Rick McCord against Tojo Yamamoto. And let's go look at that picture. At the time, Lawler had decided to go with babyface manager Danny Davis. Second picture. This is before Kaufman is mocking, Lawler getting ready. Next picture. This is the world famous pile driver, and I love this shot. By far a great shot of history in making with Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. Next picture. Lawler looks over Kaufman. Next picture. And I think this is the last of this series, and this is Kaufman manager, Jerry Calhoun, the medics, and everybody checking out Andy Kaufman. As I've said before, I certainly won't say this is my favorite Memphis wrestling memory of all time, but it's the only damn one that got on the Tonight Show or the David Letterman Show or whatever it is. Lucian is saying bad names about Andy Kaufman, but it was good stuff, and he did a great job. So just brief words, because I want to be out of here by 9 o'clock, and I'm going to do one more video, few more pictures, and we'll go with quick thoughts about the pictures we just saw from Chris. Then Chris, throw to Michael.
Okay. Well, I wasn't really a big fan of the Kaufman deal. I know it drew good and got on the Tonight. I get all that, but I will say this. I saw an interview with, and I'm trying to recall who it was. Oh, James talking to Dutch, and James was asking Dutch why Kaufman was on the main event and all that. Dutch said it was real simple. He sold 10,000 tickets. He said, James, you can sell 10,000 tickets. You can be on the main event. So
actually, it sold 8,100 tickets. The next week with Bill Dundee returning with Steve Kern against Sweet Brown Sugar and Bobby Eaton after being off. If you notice, Dundee wasn't on that card. Right. The next week, it jumped to 9,000 people. I don't know if that was the excitement over what happened with Kaufman or the excitement that Dundee had returned on TV. So go ahead and pitch to Michael, Chris.
All right, Michael.
Very historic. Those are great pictures. And some of them ended up, the Associated Press and some of the other folks picked up on them. NBC picked up on them. Incredible pictures. And that's a once in a lifetime. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and they brought the Kaufman thing up. That's a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. How many times is the Cosmos going to get right that Andy Kaufman's going to meet a guy in New York, and the guy in New York's going to say, well, I need to talk to my friend Jerry Jarrett and, get everything moving and those moving parts all. It's a once in a lifetime thing, but a great, great moment in history.
I do have a question.
Okay.
That had to do with this card. J.R. Hart, was that Kenny Shane?
Yes.
Okay. I coached Pee Wee basketball against Kenny Shane when his son Shane Johnston played at North School, Randy.
Really?
And his teammate was Ollie Thompson, the Freezer's nephew, William the Freezer Thompson's nephew, the wrestler who played for the Razorbacks, no less. But Kenny Shane was was J.R. Hart.
I remember Kenny Chain, J.R. Hart. I did not know that.
Yep.
I don't know the date of this next picture, but this you guys will like. As we play 53-48, 53-48. And this, I'm pretty sure, is a fairly recent picture, not 100% sure. Jimmy Hart comes to town to stay with Jerry Lawler quite often. This is Jerry Lawler, Jim Cornette in Rossville, Tennessee, at the home of Bill Superstar Dundee. And as the last time either one of you guys saw, well, no, that's not true. The last time, Chris, you saw Bill Dundee was at Michael, you saw him at the Hall of Fame in Jackson. Chris, the night of my book signing was the last time. The night before my book signing and the book signing day is when you saw Bill. Michael, thoughts on this picture, and does this do your heart good?
I'm glad to see Bill's picture. I really am. He looks like that. He's a little older looking, I might say, but heck, so am I, since the reunion at the Hall of Fame celebration in Jackson. But he still looks good. He's still got that smile, and you can still recognize who it is. And it's great to see thumbs up with the superstar. Jerry looks good in this picture also.
Yeah, I think it's great. Jimmy does. I think it's a great picture. We'll go through these next few real quick. 53-46. The next picture is, of course, the Diamond Ring Cadillac Man Sputnik Monroe. The next picture after that, and this is two legends talking about their careers. This is Terry Funk and Harley Race. I like the next picture, 53-68. 53-68 is a picture when Harley Race was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Harley Race and his son, who's on social media, especially Facebook all the time, Justin Race. And that's a great picture there. Just a fantastic picture. This next picture, 53-69. You guys know who this is?
Chris Jericho.
Jericho.
Yes. Next picture, 53-70. I don't like comedy gimmicks. This guy debuted in AEW, debuted in the Independent, some kind of dead type of gimmick. His name is Danhausen. He debuted in a Kaufman in Elimination Chamber for the WWE just a couple of weeks ago. But what do I know, guys? What do I know, guys? As we go off that picture right now.
I thought it was apple juice.
That is Danhausen.
There's
that a cup of tea?
That's something. Danhausen is and somebody was explaining this to me, that it has something to do with the underworld. It's German and has something to do with the underworld or something. Everybody thought that the guy in the box, they were playing that deal where they were sending the box back between Raw. Everybody thought it was Jericho, and it ended up being this guy. But more power to him. I mean, if they've got an idea that's going to make them money, more power to him. I'll judge 20 years from now.
The next thing I wanted to say, he debuted a couple of weeks ago. This last week, who do you think sold more merchandise? And it wasn't Jey Uso. And it wasn't Roman Reigns, and it wasn't Cody Rhodes, and it wasn't Randy Orton. Who do you think sold more merchandise than anybody last week? I don't know where I'm going there. What do we know?
Yeah, they got a plan for him. And hey, he's a little guy. He's got a different gimmick. Hey, if they know what they're doing and he can make money on it and they can make money on it, God bless him.
And the kids like it. There's no doubt about it. Two more pictures. 53-71 is a very good picture that I think is in Los Angeles, California. This is the great Andre the Giant. And is this famous LA ring announcer Jimmy Lennon, Michael?
Yes, I think it is. I want you to look at Andre, and this picture had to be from the late 60s, early 70s. Look how small he was compared to what he became. Yeah. I mean, he's huge, but he's actually got a physique to him, whereas later he just became ogre looking. But I mean, this is a great picture of the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles.
Any thoughts about that? Quick thoughts, Chris?
Well, just Andre the Giant looking like such an athlete in his size. Like Michael said, he's fit. And to imagine how big he is, like his height and weight, and to be that type of athletic looking, that's pretty impressive.
Last picture, 5372, is Nick Gulas, Dennis Condrey, and Tojo Yamamoto. So we're going to go a couple of minutes over because Adam, I have a 10-minute, 46-second video. This is the last 10:46 of a December the 11th, 1977 match that drew 10,800 people. December the 11th, 1977 at the Mid-South Coliseum. Opening match was a 8-man tag team match. The second match, Battle of the Heels, Hickerson and Condrey against the Samoans, Tio and Tattoo. Then it was a grudge match, Bill Dundee against Gorgeous George Jr., a championship match with Big Red Reese against the Mongolian Stomper, and Harley Race against Jerry the King Lawler for the NWA World title. It's the first meeting between Lawler and Race ever, and it's 10 minutes, 46 seconds, and we'll show that, comment on that.
Now, let's go to the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum for the
This
action
is
between Jerry the King Lawler
show
challenging Harley Race for the World Heavyweight Championship. 50 minutes has passed. 10 minutes to wrestle. To go. 9 minutes to go. You only got 9 minutes. The PA system has gone out. Lawler back over. 1 minute past, 10 minutes to wrestle. Lawler lets go of that one. That was getting him nowhere pin-wise, and that's what he wants. He's come too far tonight. Nails Harley right in the face with that foot. What do you have to do to hold this guy down? Now Lawler may have him. Referee grabs both hands and says, you're not going to beat on him.
Adam is pointing out this, Michael, is live audio.
Lawler does.
Absolutely.
2 right hands.
Notice the difference in the commentary.
Yes. Of the world title matches we watched so far today on Talking Memphis Wrestling, I think Jack Brisco and Lawler's my favorite. What do you guys think?
This is a slower pace, and I think Brisco was a quicker paced athlete in the ring than what Harley was. Harley's middle-aged here, and I think he's pacing himself. You're not going to see as
Lawler going for the sleeper hold. He rarely uses this hold.
I think Harley's leading the match.
He figures maybe that this is a good time since Race.
Never. That's what I said earlier. I've only seen him do this a couple of times. But they're in world title matches. You can also tell he's not calling them. Good R12 says, Randy, how often did Big... Oh, no.
Jerry Lawler holding on with about 7 minutes to go, but Harley Race is also holding on. Lawler does not have a good position on him.
No,
he
that's
tightens
next
it up
week.
better.
When
He's
they
got
have
a much
90
better
minutes
position on him now.
Correct.
race is
and
sagging.
that was, let's see, this was the 11th,
Harley slips back.
and then they
And
came
arrows
back.
Lawler
The
through
8th,
the ropes.
and
Lawler
that
did not
very
have
well
a good
as
position on
well.
the sleeper hold.
Yeah.
Race had moved around to where he to relieve some of it. Lawler then went down, tightened it up hard. Race
Just had the world
slipped
title
back
match
just
just
enough
to
to
hit
get
the
a
referee
shoulder
again.
at Lawler
Yeah.
and knock him through the ropes.
Absolutely. And suspenders this time. Was that Tupelo building air conditioned, Randy?
Hell no.
That's why he doesn't have the. That's why he doesn't have the tie on and is in suspenders.
That's the Coliseum.
Oh,
Yeah, Lance was just doing
just the Coliseum. Okay.
Lance was doing the cut-ins for the big show, showing his match. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Coliseum.
Lawler slips in
Yeah, the
behind for
ceiling.
the
I
sleeper
know
hold.
the arena. That's the
Looks like his
Coliseum.
positioning
Oh,
may be
absolutely.
better this time.
December
There goes
11th,
Harley. See how
77.
he rolls in
Coliseum,
takes the
Michael, is
pressure off
probably
the
the
side
only
of that
sports
neck.
venue I've ever been in that during
Rips
its
his
time
head
they
and
could have ran two
shakes him off the sleeper.
events or two
Lawler goes
groups
after it again.
and made money. Memphis Wrestling and Memphis State Tiger basketball.
He's been unable
They didn't have to have
to get the
anything else
pin.
the rest of the year. They'd have made a profit.
And
Right.
holding for a
I
three
saw the
count.
Rolling
He's gonna
Stones
try
in
to
that
get a
building
submission on him. Or
at
rather
one
put him
time, and
asleep
it was
where he'll
it was
have
packed.
with no
And I,
problem.
of course, saw several wrestling shows,
Lawler
but that building was packed. And I also know that during the Mid South Fair, that they would have a
That's where
almost
all the
every
pressure
night they'd
is
have a
on
big
that
event
point.
in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
Referee Tommy Marlin checking him. Remember, he's been in there 54 minutes
Always
himself.
remember they moved the wrestling nights sometimes for the Mid-South Fair.
Race is
And they
down.
moved the TV for
He
freaking
is
Wimbledon
not
tennis.
out, but he is definitely
I remember I
down
always got
and
mad
hurt.
when I was a kid because in July they'd have the Wimbledon tennis and Lance would say, we're going to be on at whatever time, 1:30 in the
Once
afternoon,
again, I think this is the fourth
you know,
or fifth
because we had to
time.
watch tennis.
So I'm gonna
That
figure
race
out
has
how to
used the
check that you're
ropes to
somebody
break a
down in
count.
somewhere in Mississippi. And no,
Lawler
he passed
sagged when he
away
saw that.
a long time ago.
He has done everything he can to the champion.
Boy, look at Harley sell that fist and just
Has
flat,
avoided that
just
three
a
count
flat bump
all
back
the
on
way
his
again.
back.
He is much
Incredible.
too close. No. Lawler thinks he's won. He hasn't. I can see it from here. So
What's
can
amazing
you.
about Harley's
Rice's
toughness,
legs were over the
the
ropes.
car wrecks he
Lawler's
had and
inside.
things like that, how he still was
There's
able
no
to
question
perform
about it.
at a high level is an
3
amazing
minutes are
guy.
out.
I remember taking him back to his hotel here in Huntsville the night that the
Lawler, the
TNA
world heavyweight
debuted at the
champion.
Von Braun
Harley
Center.
Race's legs were
My son
well
got to
over
meet
the
him, and he was such a gracious man. And I'd worked with him before. And I have a picture of my son when Chris was like 4 years old, and Harley's holding him in the dressing room. And Harley, if he did remember it, but he acted like he did, and it just. My son was just over the moon over the fact that we got to take Harley Race back to his hotel, and he was just like one of us. Just what a great guy. But look at him sell. I mean, my God, this guy can sell.
He had not won the championship.
4 minutes, 2 seconds.
Randy, to your comment earlier, this match seems to drag a little bit more. And notice the pace is almost in slow motion compared to the Brisco match, which was as wrestling matches go for championships, was more of a go, go, go kind of match.
Harley was always methodical. When you watch Harley work, and like he always do that knee drop on the forehead, and he'd walk like in a very rhythmic way, and then drop that knee on the forehead. Everything was always kind of slower to me.
3 minutes.
He was an ultimate technician, that's for sure.
3 minutes remain.
Again, I think the difference being the amateur background of Brisco versus the professional background of Harley.
He didn't really like the King either, based on what I've heard him say. So that shows his professionalism. He didn't let his personal feelings interfere with doing business.
He sold as much in this match as you would see him sell for anybody.
Absolutely.
That they had earlier.
I don't know
I
why he
love
didn't.
that.
I don't know why he didn't lock him, but he didn't lock him.
In the
Apparently.
42nd row, but Ray simply ducked over, and Lawler went straight over his back.
Because Vince McMahon
Lawler
had
shakes him at the
made
count
Harley
of 2.
Race the king, and Lawler had the natural Harley and the WWE started
Neither
saying
wrestler.
that they were violating Lawler's trademark. At this point, Race didn't have anything, but he held a grudge over that. I'm the one that delivered that lawsuit
The
to
Spirit's
the
willing.
downtown municipal auditorium.
Oh, wow.
2. Nope.
How
Harley
that,
Race
you folks out there,
shakes the
the
jackknife.
perspective I bring to you on this show. I'm a little cocky today, Michael.
Count of 1, 2.
I love it.
and Race
I love
once
it.
again uses the
I
ropes.
thought maybe the heat between Lawler and Harley was over a woman.
Race takes another one from Lawler.
It made more sense.
I think Harley most of the time was
And
just in
Race
and
kicks
out
out this time.
of the territory. I
Lawler
wasn't
goes to
talking
the
about
ropes.
just in and out of the girl. In and out of the
Straight
territory.
down.
One thing too about Harley, and you mentioned that working methodical and all this. One of the things too about Harley is Harley had several surgeries during his reign, and I know he had pins in his knee, and elbow. He had a huge stab mark where he was stabbed by a fan on the left side of his abdomen. I mean, Harley, this was one tough son of a gun, but he worked through all of those transgressions and all of those incidences to still be the great wrestler that he was.
He's just absolutely fantastic. I thought his interviews were good. I mean, especially not 7 or 8 times when it really was a traveling world champion. The same Flair, the 16-time world champion, no disrespect to him, but Crockett controlled it at that point for most of his championship. And James asking is Tommy and Eddie really brothers? I'll let you handle that, Michael.
Oh, absolutely.
Can't you tell by looking at him?
Well, and Eddie was the great promoter, and Tommy was the great politician.
And that's it. The 60-minute time limit has run out, and the bout will be a draw. 60 minutes to a draw. Harley Race retains his World Heavyweight Championship. There was an absolutely sensational one.
See, Lance in that unair-conditioned building, he's wearing a suit.
Jerry the King Lawler, the challenger, and it went to a draw. Just how close Lawler was to being the World Heavyweight Champion. We got a lot of action. You can hear the crowd outside. They're stirred up capacity, and we're going to be back to join that action right after we take time out for this.
He could do it all, couldn't he?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it. Hey, a fun show last week, Michael, and when you just had it was just me and Chris. We got out of here at 8:15. Today, with more people on the screen and more video to play, this has been a hell of a show. Hell of a show. We'll examine Nick Bockwinkel and Jerry Lawler next week on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Sum up the show, Chris, and your last take before we get out of here.
Well, any show involving the King's career is a good show because he's one of the all-time greats across the board and definitely the all-time great from where we were born and raised. Seeing him and Bill and Jimmy Hart makes me smile because I'm glad to see him looking healthier and doing better. At the same time, it makes me realize how the time is gone and that my youthful years are gone and my heroes are old because, hell, I'm old. I'm going to be 60. So it just you didn't appreciate them as much then as you do now. Like, I really appreciate those guys and all the fun I got to and still get to enjoy on this show with you guys every week. And like I was teasing Michael earlier, I watched Michael. I mean, I've known Randy since I was playing baseball. I've known Randy personally, but Michael was a TV personality to me. And then the first time I ever met him, I had to tell him about the PY Chew-High deal because that just is, it cracks me up every time I see it today. And to become personal friends with him has been one of the cool experiences of somebody who loved wrestling. And the fact that my friend I grew up that announced my baseball games was the booker at Memphis Wrestling. That's just beyond comprehension when we were kids.
One thing I want to say, you're the youngest person on this show, but you look at me, head full of hair. Look at Michael, head full of hair. Look at you, not a hair on the head. Need I say less? Final thoughts. Sum it up on this show today. I had a blast today, and I appreciate Chris and Michael. I appreciate you. I talked to Pat earlier today. He's out with his boss, being wined and dined and probably getting drunk. But Pat Trammell will return to the show next week. Doc Robinson's at a aunt's funeral in the Nashville, Tennessee area. So our prayers out there, and check out on Mondays the Blues Doctors podcast.
Well,
Final take.
If Doc is in Nashville tomorrow, I've got to make my trip up to our Tennessee station. So I'm going to be in Nashville from about 11 o'clock on. So if you want to grab a quick lunch, Doc, I'm available. If we can put that together, that'd be really cool. I love the show. I felt so bad about missing the show last week because something came up just very, very last minute, and I had to back out, and I hate to do that. But things are going well. I know I want to compliment Adam Dunn. He's been a great asset to our radio station, even though he's working in his situation with his position outside. He's been a big help to our radio station, and we look forward to seeing him and having him back. But I love shows like this because we looked at we didn't try to cover a lot of things. We covered one thing, and we deep dived it, and the production of what you did preparing the show, Randy, and what Adam put together was absolutely phenomenal. We saw some great wrestling, and that's the key. That'll be my final take tonight, is how good was the wrestling we saw tonight? How damn good was it? It doesn't compare to anything else that you can. It may be more theatrical this year in this day and time. It may be on a bigger stage with more eye candy, but it ain't what wrestling needs to be. And, the Cardinals back in the 90s, they got back to doing baseball the way it ought to be was their slogan. And, I would hope that somebody will come along and get wrestling back to the way it ought to be, because what you saw tonight on this program was honest to God, down to earth, true professional wrestling, the sport.
We're coming up, and Adam, if you can click the video or the thing, and I'll go ahead, folks. Put it down, because WrestleMania 2-day event combo tickets on sale now. Saturday, April 18th, Sunday the 19th. 2 main events. Night 1 main event will be Randy Orton against Cody Rhodes. Night 2 will be Roman Reigns against CM Punk. Also, a open challenge with Brock Lesnar. WrestleMania will be 18th and 19th. We'll cover those and update you what's going on for the second year in a row at Allegiant Stadium there in Las Vegas. The second year in a row. I have read online as we come out of those. Adam, if you take that off the screen for me right now. And real quick, is again, we're going a few minutes over, mistake or not, because it was announced WrestleMania 2026 was going to New Orleans. That's been real successful there a few times. And then Las Vegas did a bid to have them 2 years in a row. Tickets did not move as fast, and I think it's because it's so damn expensive. Do you think it's a mistake, Michael, going back-to-back years in the same city?
I was very surprised when it happened. I'll be honest with you. Well, and I also thought that something had something to do with Saudi Arabia and the folks over in Riyadh. But it doesn't surprise me that tickets aren't going real well, because face it, if you want to go out there and go to the show, you're going to do $10,000, because you're going to fly out there. You're going to get a hotel. That's going to cost you $300 a night. and that's not going to be the best of hotels. Then you're going to pay $1,000 for tickets. If you buy the pass to the fanfare or whatever they call it that starts on Monday before, that's another $2,500. You're 10 grand in if you're one individual. If you're going to take your girlfriend, your wife, or your family, you're spending half your inheritance. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I don't think they'll go back to back in another city again. And again, I wondered, and when they announced this, I wondered what part did the new ownership from MMA have to do with them going back to back with WrestleMania?
I think everything. Because Las Vegas, I don't know dollar figures, but Las Vegas not only outbid what New Orleans, these cities have to bid for the SummerSlams and all this thing. They just, and Al said, I think WrestleMania is going to end up better than I thought it was going. Looking forward to Roman and Punk. Yeah, who knows? It might sell out both nights. I mean, it's possible. WrestleMania is the destination event for buying tickets for your family. Not only in the United States, they come from England and all those come up from all over the world. And so I agree with you, Michael. I don't think I think they need something different. And I think before, I'd say in the next 3 years, they'll go, because it's all about money, and it's always been all about money, but money is garnered different now. That Saudi money will get a WrestleMania. There's no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely. Just a real quick thing on Vegas. When in the 90s, I had the opportunity to spend quite a few days in Vegas for different events. I've been to Vegas on New Year's Eve. I've been to Vegas on Super Bowl Sunday. I've been to Vegas for a prize fight. And out of the three, the biggest event, without a doubt, was the prize fight.
And who was the fight?
It was Tyson, and I forget who he fought, but it was some ham and egger. It was at the MGM Grand, and it was a big event. It was a big time event, and you saw people from, I mean, every world of entertainment, baseball world, actors, everybody, politicians, the whole 9 yards.
As Al says, next year's WrestleMania is in Saudi Arabia, and that doesn't surprise me in the least. Thanks, Adam Dunn, Chris Ellis, Michael St. John. Pat Trammell will be back next week. Bockwinkel, and more. I'm Randy Evans. Good night, everybody, from Northeast Arkansas.
You'll see America's favorite sport on WHBQ television.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill.